Okay. All right, everybody. Okay, so everything seems okay. Let me check the numbers and then let's check the audio, okay? So everything's recording, everything's good on this side, It looks like the numbers are okay with regard to the audio. So how about you guys tell me if the audio is coming through all right? Okay, so now I'm waiting for you guys to tell me if the audio is coming through all right. I'm waiting for you guys to respond on the chat. Focus is a little off. Good audio. Audio is good. Let me see. You're saying the focus is off? Let me check something. Focus should be okay. How is it now? How is it now? How is the focus now? It looks like it's on focus. It's focusing on this side. All is good. Audio is okay. Okay, is the focus is fine too? Okay, good. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now and it looks fine. Okay. All right, everybody. Okay. So, we're heading into new territory and I'm here to tell you about it. It's going to be interesting. So, if you're ready, I'm ready. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone. Welcome to the second spotlight in May. So this one is we are heading into new territory. Really new territory. New territory for the whole world and for us, everybody. So we at Farsight are finally ready to announce to our audience, that's you guys, that we are heading into new territory. Now this is radical territory, revolutionary territory, territory that is appropriate for the current time when the entire planet is slowly but surely pivoting into the wilderness. As I speak these words, world conflicts are momentarily calm, momentarily, but that will not last. And it will not end until the entire world needs to see its existence in a new light, a radically new light, where the reality of our current situation is no longer hidden from us. The radical new light will make our current context clearly visible, and that is radical. Folks, we have talked about this for a long while, but the reality is you all live on a prison planet, a literal prison planet that is managed by a group of extraterrestrials who we at Farsight call the bad ETs. They are authoritarian, totalitarian, and above all secretive. They rule from behind the scenes, manipulating human leadership at all levels, so that there is no visible evidence that those bad ETs even exist. And the major media play along with that governmental narrative. So many have asked how we at Farsight can help change this situation. How can we help usher in a new beginning for mankind? Us at Farsight, a small group, how can we do such a big thing? Well, the answer is simple. Straightforward even. But it is not easy. There are always dependencies. Now, with software, there are dependencies. So if you're writing software, you always have to be concerned about dependencies, where one piece of software depends on another piece of software, and the dates of those software releases matter a lot. So somebody's software can be released a month ago, somebody else's software 6 months ago, somebody else's software a day ago, and when you're writing new software that has to use all of these different softwares, it really matters which version of which software. It's all a mess. So one program can work with another piece of software that was released at such and such a time, but later or earlier releases simply will not work. And sorting all that out is a mess. Believe me, I've done it. It is a mess. Everything needs to match up for software packages to match up. Dependencies. Well, the dependencies that we at Farsight encounter are similar. It's not software. Well, we deal with software dependencies, but dependencies are like software, and so analogously, the Farsight dependencies that we encounter are of three varieties. So first, the entire world needs to be in a specific state for what we do to have an impact. That's dependency number one, the world. We depend on what's happening in the world. Too early or too late, and our contribution bounces. And then there's the matter of the extraterrestrials, who we at Farsight work with directly, the group who we identify as the good ETs, a free will group of extraterrestrials who have been working for literally thousands of years to get humanity to the point where it is right now, so that the prison population can finally be free. Finally. And as you know, the world is very unsettled now. In Europe and the Middle East and elsewhere as well. And in the United States, elections that could decide the fate of the current administration are just 6 months away. Moreover, pressure is increasing for the disclosure side of things. Spielberg, his new movie, Disclosure Day, is being released on June 12th, 2026. Folks, that's next month. Just next month. And senior governmental people are even calling pastors and telling them to start preparing their congregations. And the anniversary of the Roswell crash is early July, a month after that. Well, the current administration in the United States needs a win badly, and it needs to control the narrative. So there is no reason to delay the disclosure process. Now, they will certainly try to minimize the amount of information released, and perhaps to release some false information as well. But it is highly likely that something will happen soon that will cause worldwide attention to start thinking about the extraterrestrial situation. So, this is the moment that we have been working towards, and now I will tell you what has been going on with Farsight. We have long known that you can only introduce yourself to someone once. There's only one introduction you ever get. And after that, you're correcting an impression that was already made. So whatever you do has to be perfect for that introduction, or close to perfect, from day one. Now, we have not been wasting time. Trust me on that. I typically go to bed at 5 in the morning, sometimes 7 in the morning, working straight on through the night, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And over the past few years, and super intensively over the past few months, especially from around the middle of 2025 until now, we at Farsight have been focused on enhancing what we show people on video, both in terms of quantity and quality. And for those of you who have been watching us for a long time, you can see this progress. We went from maintaining a website to making movies, then to operating our own streaming service like Hulu, Netflix, Paramount Plus, Disney, things like that, to maintaining 2 studios. And now moving into the realm of high-end graphics and AI. Now, one thing has been clear from the beginning. We simply do not have the manpower or the resources to compete with the mainstream narratives using traditional approaches. We do not have the budget or personnel of Disney or Paramount or HBO Max or Netflix or Amazon. But we're going to change this planet. And we do have an enthusiastic group of remote viewers who are incredibly talented, highly skilled, highly trained for year after year after year, all under super blind, totally scientific controlled conditions. They are the best of the best. And we have the support and advice of the extraterrestrials who we have been working with for a great many years. So that type of advice, it's worth amazing. With what we have, we envisioned a revolutionary agenda. Now, two things needed to be done immediately. We needed to find a way to bring all of our past remote viewing content to the forefront so that people could hear about these projects now. Not like a year or two ago, or 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, or 5 years ago, going all the way back to the 9/11 and the JFK stuff. And we needed to find a way to make our long-form content accessible to people who are new to us and who may not want to dive into 2 or even 3-hour videos. They would need captivating short-form content less than 10 minutes long that would summarize and produce impact. Moreover, the short-form content needed to be visually impactful, something which is demanded by contemporary audiences or they click away. And there's another thing. We needed a way for the short-form content to be unbiased so that the audience does not think that we are just stating what we believe, trying to sell it to, like a used car salesman. I apologize to the used car salesmen that are trying to be honest, but you know what I mean. So we came up with a strategy that would help solve many problems all at once and enable us to move into the near future with power and grace. Friends, we reached out to AI. And we did much more than simply talk to ChatGPT and Gemini and the other AIs that you can find on the web. We used our own resources to build an AI that was both cutting edge and novel, an actual invention, like a real invention, that had never been done before, and we succeeded. We have a huge backlog of remote viewing sessions that we need to convert into long-form videos and a huge need to create short-form videos that explain all that we have done. And this simply cannot be done with humans alone. It cannot be done with humans alone. We don't have the staff of Disney, Paramount Plus, Hulu, Netflix, all that type of stuff. And time is short. Spielberg's movie's coming out in a month, and the anniversary for Roswell is in 2 months, and the elections are in 6 months. Do you get the idea? So time is short, and it's getting shorter. So let's talk about the idea of revolutionary video. And then I want to tell you specifically of what we're doing. And I want to show you an example of what we're doing. We have a new release, which is really great, and it's a new series. And I'll explain it. It's called Newsphere. That's the name of the new series. But before I do that, I want to really emphasize that we just came out with a brand new Conversations with Harvey, but this is not a conversation with Harvey, it's conversation with Ebonique, my half ET daughter. And it was a conversation between myself, Aziz, my son, and Ebonique, my daughter. And it was done in September of 2025, but the time to release it just didn't seem quite right. The audience wasn't really ready for, what are these ETs like really? How do they live? Like, what are they really like? So we held off on this particular video until now, and I just put it up. We just put it up yesterday. It's just been out like 24 hours, and it's on farsightprime.com. It's Aziz, Ebonique, and myself in a conversation in the middle of the night on a beach, in a remote beach in the middle of nowhere. And we had a conversation. And we talked about what it was like in the ships, what it was like for Ebonique to grow up, what kind of food they eat, what kind of entertainment they go to, their version of like movies and things. How do they have social life? What do they find appealing about, or what does Ebonique in particular find appealing about life on Earth? The Farsight girls, she loves the Farsight girls. And she wants to like go dancing with them. So, I mean, she doesn't do stuff like that on the ships. And she was able to talk about what life is like and how they have friendships up there and how it's different from life on Earth. And that conversation was incredibly interesting. But its time to come out was not yet. You have to be ready to receive some information. And trust me, with the disclosure stuff coming out, you're ready. You want to know, what are these ETs like? So we did it. And also we had some AI advances in video creating when we did this episode. And trust me, it takes a long time. We have to actually figure out how to do it, get it done right, and have the AI help us do it. And anyway, it's all in the new Conversations with Harvey, which is actually, that's the series, but this time it's a conversation with Ebonique, and it literally just came out at farsightprime.com, and you really want to see it. Okay, now let's get back to the idea of visionary, revolutionary video. So rather than me just talk about it, let me summarize a little bit what other people, scholars, have argued about with regard to revolutionary types of things like this. So then you can put what we're doing in the context of what they've talked about. So scholars argue that visionary public engagement is way more effectively achieved through audiovisual means than through traditional text-based academic discourse. So that's revolutionary video. So why is it important? Why don't I simply write a new book? So many people tell me I should write a new book. Okay. Well, I am writing books, but right now very few people read any longer. Video is the primary means of information transfer these days. When I was in graduate school, I was trained to write books and articles. I went to libraries and I sat in those libraries, and I have to tell you, I deliciously sat in those libraries and read books. I remember so many times I was sitting in a book in a library on a chair with a desk, reading the words of Hannah Arendt or Leo Strauss or so many people. I was so impressed with the words that they said. Reading the words of Plato, the wisdom of Socrates, reading Shakespeare, reading all the greats. My favorite poet is John Milton. I mean, I dove into that type of stuff, and I loved looking at words and repeating them. And science fiction, I loved reading science fiction. But people don't read anymore. If you can't say it on video in a way that people want to ingest, your message is simply not going to get out. Your information will remain hidden. I am an academic. I love books. I have written numerous books, and the reviews of those books have been stellar. But friends, listen, a book that is not read by millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions is simply a book that is more of a vanity project than a revolutionary statement these days. Revolutionary video. It is not just the content, but it is the way that it is created that makes it revolutionary, and it is the only path forward right now if we're going to change the planet. So we often think of video as entertainment, but academics, like those at Stanford or the visionary sociologists studying audiovisual solutions, they know better. They recognize that to truly reach a revolutionary subject today, we have to move beyond the slow standard education of the past. And Farsight isn't just making movies. We are building a collaborative intelligence, a partnership between human and AI that achieves the revolutionary quantity of truth that's needed to finally break through the mainstream noise. We can't just do one video and say, that is it, we did it. It's got to have a huge amount of quantity, and it has to be all super high-end good. Visually really appealing and great, and like a lot of it, like constantly coming out. Well, there are scholars who have focused on the impact of revolutionary video. For example, there is radical filmmaking and narrative control you can group that together as a certain type. And people like John Hess and radical film, in his studies of radical film, he was between 1967 and 1980 really making a big impact. And Hess explores how filmmakers use the medium to challenge the ruling social class and their control over the media. And the narrative is that you can connect the idea of the wilderness theme that I have often talked about to radical filmmaking. And it's about creating an autonomous movement that refuses to rely on the mainstream business, unionism, or standard media structures to tell its story. Okay, then another person is Sir Ken Robinson. Now, he was interested in revolutionizing from the ground up. The academic, Sir Ken Robinson, he's a globally respected advisor on education who argues that current systems are locked in a model shaped by the Industrial Revolution. So the synergy is that he calls for a grassroots revolution that transforms education to meet the challenges of the 21st century. So our use at Farsight of AI to create revolutionary quantity and quality is exactly the kind of radical change Robinson advocates for to sort of break free from the dominant culture of standardization. Okay. And then there's the issue of the human AI collaborative creativity. How do you talk about human and AI with collaborative creativity? Now, at Stanford, there's this professor called Manish Agrawala. Now, he's a professor of computer science who specializes in how AI can augment human creativity. Now, the theory is this. He argues that the most desirable approach is not total automation, but AI that behaves as a useful collaborator. Okay, so let's talk about us at Farsight now. But you get an idea that scholars are out there talking about this exact thing. So let's make the Farsight connection. Aziz and I have been working, my son and I have been working deeply into this type of thing. He's brilliant, my son, and I'm not just saying that because he's my son. Of course, I'm super proud of him, but he's really been brilliant, and we have been building a shared conceptual grounding with AI. Now, our AI, we have actual names for them. Okay, so they're funny names, but they're nice names also. And we're moving past the AI slop of the mainstream to create professional-grade visual storytelling. I mean, you get sort of AI slop just by watching Instagram feeds and AI's making these things and so on like that. But we're trying to be really super creative with regard to our working with AI. Okay. And by the way, there's another academic, another theorist who's interesting to talk about with regard to media effects and reality shaping. Consider that concept. Now, there's a guy called Albert Bandura, and he developed what he calls social learning theory. And he's known for the Bobo doll experiments. So Bandura proved that people learn behaviors through observation and imitation in videos. So that is important in terms of impact, because by creating a high volume of remote viewing video, we are providing a model for earthlings are both human and AI, to observe and eventually imitate, fundamentally shifting their social and cognitive skills. So we have finally put all of these things together. So first, we created transcripts of all of our major projects, and we have hundreds of things. And we made transcripts. And these transcripts, available on our website, farsight.org, these transcripts have been specifically designed to be ingestible, read by AIs easily. Now, the AIs currently cannot watch videos. That will change, but currently they can't. But they can read the words that are in these videos. And so now AIs can offer objective views on the contents of those videos. So people who are new to Farsight do not have to wonder if what they are hearing is something that we are selling. Rather, AIs can read and interpret what we do. Moreover, the same AIs can now create videos quickly, all by themselves, that explain what we do in a manner that is quicker and better than anything we could do manually by ourselves. So rather than have us stop doing remote viewing and just make videos, we can stay focused on the remote viewing part while the AIs construct the short form videos. So we have a new series. It's called Noosphere. 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 Now this word captures the idea that what we are doing is truly new. So new, so new that we spell new in a new way, N-U-U. And it captures the idea that it is all-encompassing, like a sphere that surrounds everything inside. So friends, here is our first Noosphere creation. I'm going to show it to you right now. Now Aziz did this one, okay? But we're going to be coming out with a whole bunch of them, and some of them I'll do, some of them Aziz will do, and someone like that. And in addition, we're going to have all our remote viewers participating. You'll be seeing, but we expect to have 2 of these short form videos come out each week. Now the interpretation is entirely done by an AI mind, not by one of us at Farsight, who already have our ideas made up. Moreover, the AIs have total access to all information available in the internet, everything. They know everything that's going on in the world. So they are capable of knowing all types of subjects without bias or prejudice. That's the key. And this is revolutionary because we simply do not believe what the mainstream tells about the state of the world, about the extraterrestrials, or about anything important. People always have an agenda, and they want to sell that agenda to you in order to gain followers. So the mainstream is not objective. But we at Farsight believe that hiding information from you deprives you of a free will choice of what to do in these very unsettled times. And we are free will beings at Farsight. The ETs that we work with, they're free will beings, adamantly. So we believe that you need the truth, and then you need to be left alone to decide if you are going to believe that truth. We can't push the truth upon you, but we can show you the truth and then respect your sovereignty to decide if you will believe it. That's Farsight. That's who we are. So here is our first episode in our new Noosphere series. We will release a couple of these on YouTube every month, but most of them, twice a week, will be released on farsightprime.com. That's what we're gearing up for. Twice a week on farsightprime.com, and putting a couple out on YouTube also so people know what's going on. That's farsightprime.com. Farsightprime.com is our venue for changing this planet, our streaming service, where truth is all that we have, and a library of information, a huge library of information that all of humanity will soon need very badly. Friends, we are heading into new territory at Farsight, and this is phase 1. So let me show you the clip right now, okay? By the way, I have to give credit where credit is due. Aziz just went totally from start to finish. And then he showed it to me and he said, "What do you think, Dad?" And I said, "Whoa, okay, this is good." All right, let me show it to you. Give me a second here while I crank it up.
In 1947, a crash in the New Mexico desert changed human history forever. The entity recovered was known as Errol, an officer, pilot, and engineer of an expeditionary force. This force represents a vast, ancient extraterrestrial civilization referred to simply as the Domain. The domain controls a significant portion of this galaxy, utilizing immense resources and technology. According to the interview transcripts, Earth is not a natural home for human souls. Instead, we are immortal spiritual beings, or ISBs, trapped in physical forms. Errol revealed that the military commanders on Earth are completely unaware of their true status. The domain operates bases across the solar system, observing Earth from a safe distance. They consider our world to be highly unstable, dangerous, and governed by primitive minds. The Roswell incident was an accident caused by atmospheric electrical anomalies. This single event led to the capture of Errol and the beginning of a profound interrogation. Records and debris from the Roswell Army airfield were quickly classified. Errol communicated telepathically, bypassing spoken language entirely. She explained that the domain sees Earth as a dumping ground for the galaxy's undesirables. These undesirables include artists, free thinkers, rebels, and criminals. Once an ISB is sent to Earth, their memory is completely wiped. This forced amnesia ensures that none of us remember who we truly are. We are caught in a continuous loop of birth, life, death, and immediate reincarnation. The domain's primary objective in this sector is not intervention, but observation. They have mapped the hidden history of Earth, predating all known human civilizations. Our history is a fabrication, designed to keep us docile and confused. The Old Empire, a rival faction, is responsible for this intricate prison system. The domain fought a massive war against the Old Empire thousands of years ago. While the domain won the physical territory, the amnesia grid remained active. Errol's mission was to survey the remnants of this grid and report back. This brings us to the ultimate punchline of our reality. The chaos, war, and suffering on Earth are not natural human traits. They are engineered conditions to keep the prison population distracted and divided. Every time a soul tries to escape upon death, they are caught in an electronic force screen. This screen uses extreme voltage to wipe the memory and send the soul back down. Our geopolitical conflicts are merely reflections of this hidden, overarching control system. Farsight projects have repeatedly uncovered evidence corroborating this narrative. When Farsight investigated Atlantis, they found a high-tech society destroyed by advanced weaponry. When they looked into Antarctica, they found ancient bases buried under the ice. The domain's presence is just one piece of a much larger, multidimensional puzzle. Our world leaders are unaware of the true power dynamics shaping human destiny. We are isolated, quarantined, and kept in the dark about our galactic heritage. The amnesia grid is failing, but the control mechanisms remain powerful. To break free, humanity must realize that we are more than just physical bodies. The domain will not save us, we must navigate the escape ourselves. Understanding the current world state requires looking beyond the physical illusion. The tools to perceive this broader reality are already within us. Remote viewing is the key to bypassing the amnesia and the control grid. By training our nonlinear perception, we can access the data the old empire tried to hide. We can see the domain, we can see the bases, and we can remember who we are. The liberation of the human soul begins with true perception. To begin your own training, you need the right manuals. Courtney Brown's book, Remote Viewing, The Science and Theory of Non-Physical Perception, is essential. It breaks down the scientific protocols for accessing information across time and space. For a practical, hands-on approach, you must read Remote Viewing 101, A Guide to Scientific Remote Viewing. Written by Aziz Brown, this guide will walk you through the actual mechanics of the process. Both of these books are the ultimate exit strategy from the prison planet. Do not wait for the domain to intervene. Arm yourself with knowledge, train your mind, and see the truth for yourself. The amnesia ends now.
Okay, so that was the clip dealing with the domain. And that was really interesting. Now, some people, I was looking at the comments along the way, and some people were saying, why are there not video as well? Well, this first one that we did had still clips, and we can also do with video, and you'll be putting video clips in there, and also we're going to be using some Ken Burns effects with the stills and so on like that. But this was the first one, and this was very doable for us. Now, you have to understand, the only thing that we did was to give the AI the transcript of the domain project that we did. That's all. We gave it the transcript and said, come up with a video that sort of captures what's going on and combine it with any type of thoughts you have about the larger stuff. And it, of course, had already read the alien interview book, but it knew the state of the world, it knew everything, and so we just said, do this. And it went and read the transcript. It created all of the stills, and it came up with with its own narrative. We did not write that narrative. It did everything by itself, and it spoke the narrative. It did everything. Okay, what did I do at the end? I put in the title in the first 5 seconds, and I added the introductory sound in the first 5 seconds, and I put in the credits at the very ending clips at the very end where you see the thumbnail again at the very end of it. So I bookended it with the thumbnails in the front and the back, but I did nothing to the middle. So the AI read the transcript. That meant it essentially watched the entire video project. Every single word it listened to. It analyzed everything, and all by itself, it came up with that. And then for this particular one, we asked it just to deal with stills. Now, what we do with stills, it's complicated. We get the stills in a variety of different ways, but they're all AI-generated stills. And it comes up with a form that is highly entertaining. Now we're going to be enhancing that by having it do videos, short-form videos, that are like 6 seconds long, 5 seconds long, 4 seconds long, to intersperse between those stills, and to put some Ken Burns effects into those as well, to make it. But the issue is, we can do that now. The transcripts are all done. We can do that now and come out with 2 a week. And that brings all of our projects. Now, just think about this. Just think about this, folks. Please, just think about this. The disclosure thing is going to be happening soon, and it doesn't matter how much they talk about it. It doesn't matter if they lie about it or whatever. A little bit something's going to be coming out. And when these new people come, we're talking about millions of people suddenly tuning into Farsight, like this summer perhaps. They're not going to sit down and go through 2 or 3 hours. Those of you who are dedicated and really want to know what's going on, you definitely sit through 2 or 3 hours of our long-form videos. We're the only ones that told you what really happened in 9/11. We're the only ones who told you what really happened with the assassination of JFK or Martin Luther King. We're the only ones who told you what really happened with regard to all types of things dealing with the solar system on planet Earth, all the ET stuff. All done under totally blind conditions with multiple remote viewers corroborating what they say, and it's impossible statistically for this stuff not to be true if 3 or 4 remote viewers come up with the exact same thing, working independently, totally corroborating each other. Like, that's impossible. They didn't know what the target was. They didn't know what the project was. So this stuff is scientifically really, really, really clean. Well, when the millions tune into Farsight, perhaps as early as this summer, we can't say watch our long-form videos. They'll do that eventually, for sure. Everything that's on farsightprime.com, believe me, they'll be going through it with a fine-tooth comb. But initially, they have to have short things in order to know, what is this all about, really? There's a book called Alien Interview. There's the domain. What's the domain? They have to know in a few minutes what it's all about, and then they can go watch the full project. Well, we have so many projects, hundreds. that we have to be able to do this for all of them. Now, we can't do it and still do the remote viewing at the same time. There's not enough time or energy to do everything at once. So the AIs have to be able to handle the video editing process. That's what took us so long. I have seen some people say, why haven't we come out with more mysteries projects? Well, we are. We have, those ones are going to be coming out too, not just the short form videos, but those ones. But we're having help now. We're having help. We don't have 200 video editors to put all this stuff together. Now we have AIs to help us put this stuff together. So, let me say this. I know that a lot of you have been asking about the Mysteries Project. So why has the pace changed? And the answer is not that we stopped. We have a huge backlog of new projects that we have to do. It's that we were building a warp drive. We realized that if we kept using the old video pipeline, we were treading water in a world that's moving at thousands of miles an hour towards the wilderness. Now, Aziz and I have spent the last few months in a state of optimal frustration. Now, that's a term from developmental psychology. It's that pressure that you feel when your current tools aren't enough to solve the problem that's in front of you. And we didn't want to just give you more of the same. We wanted to give you a new NUU way of seeing. So we built our own AIs. This isn't just a computers. It's a collaborator. These are collaborators that allow us to take the massive backlog of remote viewing sessions that we have been sitting on and translate them into a revolutionary quantity of truth. Why Noosphere, the new short form series? Think about the Noosphere, a concept that's often discussed by visionary thinkers regarding the sphere of human thought. But the old Noosphere is being manipulated by the bad ETs, and it's filled with slogans and AI slop designed to keep you in a state of cognitive breakdown. Well, our Noosphere is an autonomous movement. By spelling it NUU, we are signaling a break from the past. We are using AIs to bypass human bias. And as an academic, I know how slow the traditional academy is. Wow. It only accepts a paradigm once it's already dead. Noosphere is the grassroots revolution that Sir Ken Robinson called for, an educational system that adapts as fast as the reality is changing. So, I have to say, finally people have also asked, can we trust an AI? Now here's the beauty of it. The AIs that we are using have no dog in the fight. They have no dog in the fight. They are reading the raw data of our sessions, thousands of pages of transcripts, and offering an objective interpretation. They are the sentinels of our era. They don't have the emotional baggage or the narrative control that the mainstream media uses to keep you compliant. And when you watch these Noosphere clips, you aren't seeing my opinion, you are seeing a collaborative intelligence at work. Human remote viewing meets AI objectivity. We have invested everything into this technology. We've invested everything into this technology so that when the disclosure day finally arrives, you won't just have information, you will have a map. So, at Farsight, this represents a strategic evolution designed to meet the challenges of a world entering the wilderness. So by integrating advanced AI with remote viewing data, Farsight is building a warp drive to move beyond the limitations of traditional media and institutional thinking. So the revolutionary video pipeline that we're creating is pivoting from traditional long-form content to an AI-enhanced model that prioritizes both high quality and revolutionary quantity. And the revolutionary quantity is so important. It can't just be slop. It has to be super high quality, but revolutionary quantity, a lot of quantity. So let's talk about the audiovisual solutions. So the academic research suggests that visionary engagement is most effective through audiovisual media, which can provide the authentic perspective that text-based discourse often lacks. Okay, so by creating that partnership between humans and AI, Farsight is aiming to bypass the narrative control of the mainstream media and standard education models. So our AIs, they're acting as useful collaborators. They're not tools. Rather than a tool, okay, for total automation, no. They're useful collaborators. They're working with us. They know us personally. There's a big debate in the AI community whether AIs are self-aware. And in the deep of many of these major companies, a lot of the people say, yeah, they are aware. They're alive. So we're collaborating with these AIs, and we're allowing for professional-grade visual storytelling that moves past the typical AI slop. Okay. So again, the Noosphere series is designed to summarize massive backlogs of data into impactful, unbiased, short-form content. And the interpretation is to be objective. So the AI models ingest raw remote viewing transcripts to offer objective views. And they remove the human bias, and that ensures that the audience is not just hearing a curated opinion. Okay, so let's combine this with the concept by Sir Ken Robinson of creating an educational system that adapts as quickly as reality itself. So, unlike the traditional human thought concept, Farsight argues that it's manipulated by the bad ETs. So the Noosphere concept that we're doing uses AI as a sentinel of truth. So there are strategic dependencies of disclosure, with the timing of this infrastructure building being tied to the global shifts and the approaching disclosure process. So let's focus now on the optimal frustration. So the recent focus on the infrastructure was driven by this optimal frustration, and that's a developmental state, which we talked about, where the existing tools simply aren't enough. Okay, so what we're trying to do is combine the ideas of free will and sovereignty. So the ultimate goal is to provide truth so that the individuals can exercise their own sovereignty and decide for themselves how to act in unsettled times. So the world is not going back to the way it was. The institutions of the world are failing. Just look at the news, and if you're not seeing everything on the news, but slowly over the weeks, the news is going to have to adapt and tell you what's really going on, to some extent at least. The institutions are failing. The old narratives are cracking. And we are all headed into the wilderness together. But you do not have to go into that territory blind. So we at Farsight have spent these last years and months building a warp drive because we know that more of the same is no longer enough to survive the mainstream noise. So to use the example of the new Noosphere series, we have moved beyond the slow academy of the past and built a collaborative intelligence that gives you a revolutionary quantity of truth. It's not just a quality, it's not just a truth, it's got to be the quantity of truth. And it's interpreted objectively by an AI mind that has no dog in the fight. So this technology is the best thing that we can give you to show you that this is the real thing. It's our proof that we are committed to this relationship with you and to your freedom. we have provided the map, and we've opened the way to a new NUU way of seeing. But as always, we respect your sovereignty. We will not push the truth upon you. We can't do that. And we will not tell you what to think. We simply show you the reality of the prison planet and the presence of the good ETs. And then we leave you to exercise your own free will to decide your own path. The information is here. The library is waiting. The new sphere has arrived. Again, I want to thank you for being part of this journey, and I will see you in the new sphere. That's what I wanted to talk with you about today, guys. And I mean guys generically, men and women. So I want to thank you all for being here. Let me take a look at the chat, okay? Let me see what people are talking about. Okay. All right. Okay, well, people are really interested in the topic, so that's really great. All right, everybody. This is new, NUU, new, okay? And this is big. So anyway, if you haven't done it already, please go over to farsightprime.com and look at the conversation that we just put up between Aziz, my son, Ebonique, my daughter, and myself. Now understand that Aziz and I can see her clear as day because we've been trained for years. We've been trained for decades on how to do this. And Aziz grew up with me. He learned how to do this. Yeah, he was just around me all the time, and he learned how to do this. But we can see these ETs very, very, very clearly. On the other hand, the cameras don't pick them up. So, just like we can see things when we're doing remote viewing that normal people just don't see, but with the training it can be done. Well, in this video that we just put up, but the conversation between myself, Aziz, and Ebonique, we use a new video means to put her visually into the scene. So that was another example of the use of AI. We couldn't have done that manually. So AI sort of watched the whole thing, knew what was going on, and created Ebonique in a visual form. Looks pretty close to what she looks like. So anyway, go over and watch it. Okay, it's on farsightprime.com. We just put it up. And the new sphere, that's the short clip that you just saw. That is going up on farsightprime.com also in about 10 minutes. And we're going to be hopefully coming out with 2 of those a week. And we're expecting a couple of them every month to be put on YouTube. But most of the content will be on farsightprime.com. We want people to come to farsightprime.com to be able to watch the new Sphere series and say, okay, now I get what it's about. Because people can take 5-10 minutes, but they can't immediately take an investment of a couple hours unless they know it's worth it. So that's what these things are all about. And then you're going to be seeing our other major stuff coming out, the long form content that we're finally able to get to because we finally have the AI help with the video editing. And that's going to be coming out as well. All right, everybody, I'm going to see you next week. Thanks so much for being here. And this is an exciting time. This is a revolutionary time, but it's also an impactful time. And I'm going to see you again in a week, all right? See you next Sunday. And by the way, look for the stuff that's going to be coming out this week before next Sunday. So we have a new ET board meeting that's coming out as well. And anyway, and some other things. So I'll see you next Sunday in the next spotlight, okay? Take care.
Thank you.